welcome to today's discussion on culture as a competitive advantage. I'm Justin Bailey, fourth generation realtor and CEO for Realty Executives Associates in Knoxville, Tennessee. We've got Kim, Tiffany, and Matthew with us today, and I want to introduce Kim to start out with.
Hi, thank you, Justin. My name's Kim Karatza. I'm CMO with MoxieWorks, and we're on a mission to be the #1 AI-powered real estate marketing platform. Many of you may know MoxieWorks in the industry for some time, and we'll talk a bit later today about our new product release. But happy to be here. 16 years of helping build brands and transforming teams, so very familiar with the importance of culture, and whether it's in a brokerage or in a tech company, and happy to be here with all the panelists.
Hi there, Matthew Ferrara. I've spent 35 years in brokerage development worldwide. I am super excited to discuss culture, which I think is one of the most powerful assets that organizations have, and I'm thrilled to be part of the conversation. Thanks for having me.
Well, awesome. I am Tiffany Curry, broker owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Tiffany Curry and Company Realtors here in Houston. I am a first generation realtor and I am celebrating my 19th year in real estate since I finished college. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Thank you. Excited too. We cannot do these webinars without our sponsors. And so, Kim, could you just briefly tell us about MoxieWorks and the importance that you guys found in RIS, but also in your own company?
Yes, thank you. So MoxieWorks has been around for some time. Most people are aware of MoxieWorks. We've often worked with enterprise level brokerages on CRM, marketing, email automation, etc. We now going into 2026 have a new product release called Rise, and it's taking the best of everything we know about nurturing your database and helping agents be more productive, but putting it on a faster, more agile, more easier to navigate platform that's bringing everything into one unified solution. So whether a brokerage or an agent is looking to email nurture a database, bring in social, or have AI that's really surfacing what the agent needs to do, that's what Rise is. So with it, it's as if you woke up this morning and it said, "Good morning, Tiffany. You 5 high intent sellers that need your attention," or "Good morning. You have 100 dormant buyers that you haven't done anything with in 365 days." We know that follow up's a big issue for agents. Time to know what to do is a big issue for agents, and we're looking to solve that for them with our new platform, Rise.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim, and truly thank you for sponsoring. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. We're happy to be here.
I was thinking about our conversation this morning, and culture is a word that can get batted around a lot. It's can, I think, even become a buzzword. And so I thought it might be helpful if we just defined it a little bit. And so I think the question I wanted to start with, Kim, Tiffany, Matthew, is how do you define culture? What's your definition for culture? What is it?
I'll go first. Okay. Or you go ahead, Matthew.
Okay, no problem. Let me take a stab at that. I've worked with companies all over America, all over the world, and so culture is one of those words everybody uses, but it is hard to define. So this is probably the simplest definition that we've used over the years. Culture is the shared value system, the beliefs, the behaviors of an organization that boil down to the way things are done. So what an organization does is its strategy, but the way in which it does it, the way in which they interact with customers, with partners, with each other internally, that is known as its culture. And it stems from a set of shared beliefs, a set of values, the core values that people have in common, and they guide people's behaviors, whether it is on how they work independently or how they work collectively. And that culture is what ultimately drives the success of any strategy. In fact, over the years, I'm sure many people on the broadcast have heard this phrase before, but the famous phrase by Peter Drucker is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And it's really just a reminder that behind even the greatest business plans and the coolest capitalization that an organization might have, it's ultimately the people and the way in which they approach their work that defines the long-term success of an organization. And that, I think, is unique to every organization. Wherever we go, we will find a culture, and there will be big differences between cultures. And I think it is one of those terms that boils down to, you know it when you see it. And the best part is, when you see it, you can decide whether it's for you or not for you.
I like it. Thank you. You know it when you see it. That's a helpful way to think about it. Kim, you were going to take a stab at it, I think.
I think for me, I piggybacking on what Matthew said, it's definitely about the values of the organization, but it's also clarity. So everyone is not going to perfectly align on the values at all times. You're working at it. Culture is a living, breathing thing. So within that, I find if people have clarity in what's expected or what is the plan for the brokerage, then they tend to have more buy-in and go through those waves, especially if we're going through waves of change. A lot of companies are going through transformation right now, and you have to manage that change. And I find clarity provides it.
Well, I love that. And Matthew and Kim, you guys hit it right on the nail. I think another component of culture is the way you feel, the way a person feels within an organization. That is truly a part of the culture, especially now more than ever. Not only changes that are going on within the real estate industry, but just changes going on in the world. And right now, people need an outlet where they feel part of something that's bigger than themselves, something that's bigger than what's going on at home and what's going on in their day-to-day lives. And as they're going out in the field, especially agents, being out with consumers and clients, you want to have that arsenal behind you where you feel like you're part of something and you have a support system in place and you feel connected to something. So that word connectivity, Matthew, I think was huge. It's culture is so much, it's so many things cracked in one. And it's something that not only holds people together, but it's also something that builds a brand.
Hmm. I like that. Tiffany, while we've got you're our boots on the ground, you have a brokerage, you've built a culture. How did you build a culture, or how does someone build a culture? I liked Kim's comment on clarity. Um, as you're thinking about that, how do you also make it clear what your culture is?
Well, I think the first thing is authenticity. That's a big word, especially today, because your culture is authentic to who you are and who you actually want to become. And I think that is huge. I think within an organization, the first thing that you want to do is you want to establish who you are, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. And who and what that looks like means who's going to be part of that with you. That's the biggest thing, because everyone is not aligned with the same parallel. Everyone doesn't want the same things. So I think where most cultures fail is they bring in everybody and then they quickly realize that everybody has different shared values, different beliefs. And so, and of course, people are going to have different beliefs. But if you don't have the same shared values, I'll say that word, then it's all going to fall down. So I think definitely alignment is key. So clearly defining, like when definitely clarity when Kim said that. That's a big thing. The greatest one of the greatest cultures that I personally love to look at is Apple. And within Apple, when you from the time that you walk through the door, it's an experience, not only for the consumers that are coming in, but for the people that actually work there. So it starts at home and it starts behind the scenes. The culture that you build with your mission, your values, your shared beliefs, community. That's the big one. Having community involved in your day-to-day activity, because you can't be a great organization or a great company if you have not taken the grasp of the community that you're actually going to serve. So I think that is a huge component in determining who your culture is, and it helps define your people.
Hmm. And Kim and Matthew, feel free to chime in there. I don't want you to feel like I have to call on you, but curious what you think about that, what Tiffany said.
Well, let me add to what Tiffany just said, because I think she's got it just right. The most important aspect of establishing a culture and then nurturing that culture, defining that culture, is to put a stake in the ground. And this is where it's critical for any organization. And that organization could be the broker owner of a brokerage, but it's also each individual salesperson who's running their company within the company, if you will. They have to put a stake in the ground. They have to sit down down and say, what do I stand for? What are the 3, 4, 10, doesn't matter what the number is, but what are the values that will define what's tolerated in my organization, how we behave and why we act. So you start by literally claiming and in a sense proclaiming your values, and that creates instantaneous alignment, because some people will immediately say, wow, I resonate with those values. We hear great words around values all the time, and people say, yep, that's central to my life, that matters to me as well. And you have other people say, you know what, that doesn't matter so much to me. This is an organization that I don't want to be at, or an organization I don't want to do business with. So just the claiming of your values is the first start, and then from there, the building of your story. This is where organizations take those values and they tell the story of how they live those values every day, how they live them when they establish the company, how they practice them every day, and in their promise. We talk about value proposition in this in this industry all the time. And let's just be clear, what we're proposing are values, right? We are proposing that you go about buying and selling real estate, practicing real estate, doing your job in real estate according to certain values. And each one of us on this call has values that guides how we work. MoxieWorks has values about the kind of product that they build and how they deploy that product and how they support that product and innovate that product. Tiffany's company has claimed values about how they work, and other organizations, they do their thing. Tiffany does her thing. And those values, they're not even in necessarily competition with each other. They're simply within their own sphere. So when you say, well, how do you create a culture? You create a culture by putting a stake in the ground. So this is what we stand for. This is what matters to us. This is how we plan to go about it. We wish others well. We don't wish anyone ill. Um, a famous line from Tony Hsieh, the former CEO of Zappos, was that every organization has values, and it's not whether one set of values is better or worse than another. It's just how aligned everybody at that organization is with that set of values. The greater the alignment, the greater the returns.
Yeah. And I think building on that, if you're unclear where you're standing with your culture and your values in your company, get back to basics. Pull up what you created years ago, use them on every meeting. When you're sitting down with every agent, when you're having any team meetings, pull them up and put them on a PowerPoint or share them on your screen and say, where are we at today with how well we're doing as a brokerage, or in my case, how well am I doing as a CMO to my marketing team, and how well are you doing your day, to make sure we're working towards upholding these values. And it's okay to say that you're missing on one or two, because then you're going to work at that more, or you're going to understand. And I think at a certain point, if you don't have values, then start today. It's okay. Write down a few things that are important to you and what you want to be known for, what you want someone to say if they work with someone from your brokerage or your reputation in your community. Write them down today and start today and go from there. At MoxieWorks, we've been going through a lot of transformation with our product, but also expanding the market that we'll be selling into. So we had to do an assessment. Are the values that served us 10 years ago the values that are going to serve us for the next 10 years? And it was a mixed answer. So we kept some, we added some new, and we practice that in everything we do when we go forward. Every meeting that we have, every HR message that goes out has an email header that includes all of our values. It's little touch points, it's internal marketing, right? It's internal branding. Little touch points to just remind people what you're there. It creates an accountability. When I hear the values listed, if I don't think I upheld all those last week, I don't think the company did something wrong. I'm oh, I don't know if I really practiced all those values last week. I'm going to keep that in mind this week and bring it forward.
Yeah. If I could just add to this conversation, think about what we've been talking about so far is very holistic, right? These are organic elements of an organization. And it's hard to say well, I've got a box of values. And when a customer asks me or an agent asks me why I should work here, I take out that box. But it's actually quite realistic for customers and salespeople, for example, to act because of those values. Here's what I mean by that. No one's ever referred anyone in the real estate industry because of their stuff, right? So like a former seller is never going to say to a friend or family member, oh gosh, I need you to work with Tiffany because she has the greatest lockbox of all time, right? Or her sign is larger than all other signs in the bit. Right? No one ever speaks like that. No one ever talks like that. What they say is, you need to work with Tiffany because she has the greatest integrity of anyone I've ever worked with, or she's the most creative person who made a deal happen when I thought things would never have come together, or she was calming, resilient, right? These are words that reflect her culture. So whatever her culture is, it leaves a mark. And the stuff that we often talk about in this business, no one is talking about. Customers and clients aren't showing up saying, oh, I can't wait to work with Kim because her menus are smarter than other menus, or the way I move the mouse across her screen is easier than competing products. No one talks like that. What they say is, if you get stuck, Moxie's there for me. They've got my back. They're always just thinking a step ahead for me. Those are values. And those embodied in the culture become a massive competitive advantage for any organization. And when you have a bunch of people who are then acting in alignment with that, you get the multiplier effect, right? Now you're going to market with a multiplier of your value proposition. That's where your culture becomes a competitive tool.
Your values show post-sale is what I'd say.
Sure.
When you're in the sale, there's skill, there's requirement, there's, first to market. All those things are very important too. So I'm not trying to take away everything that's on someone in sales and demands of them to be competitive there. But it's what happens post-sale. So when the excitement of the deal is done, whether you bought a new piece of software or a brand new home or your first condo, what happens next? And that's, to me, where the values of a company start to show up. And thank you, Matthew, for saying MoxieWorks has your back, because it is important to us and it's hard. You have to work at it, right? But that, to me, is when your values shine and how you get your referral.
Well, and I love what you just said there, Kim. It starts after the with the consumers after the transaction. That's when the real relationship starts. And also with the agent, it starts after they sign up with you, right? Because the biggest thing that you hear in real estate today is everybody had all the bells and whistles when they were signing you up, and then when you get in, all the glitter and jazz just disappears. You're kind of actually forgotten about. You're on board. They're on to the next one. And I think two things are very important in culture. You both have said it. I think connectivity and also trust. So one of the things that we love to do here is the trust call. I think it just builds something within people when that just shows that you can trust the people that you work with, that you're actually with. And it's a feeling. We go back to that feeling. And it also connectivity. It connects you. And I think that's so important. And I think so we're at the Christmas holiday season. And this is, we were talking about Christmas trees and everything before we got on. I was just listing and laughing inside because this is my favorite season because one, it's my birthday month. It's my dog's birthday month. It's my mom's birthday month and my brother's. So this is just our season. But what people here know that I do and what our consumers know that I love to do, which is become authentic to our company and to our culture. They know that I do at least 3 Christmas trees every year. So I used to do 2. Now I do 3 because last year I had the epiphany. I want a birthday tree because December babies, especially Matthew's laughing. The closer that your birthday, mine isn't as close to Christmas, but for those that are close to Christmas, I hear it all the time. People they kind of like to do a 2-in-1, or your birthday kind of gets skipped over because it's Christmas time because the holidays. So I was like, you know what? Let's do a birthday tree so we define that it's 2 different things going on. It's a birthday and it's also Christmas. So this year we did my 2nd birthday tree, and on Saturday we had family and friends come over to see the tree because this is a thing. Everybody wants to see the tree. And now my neighbors, my neighbors across the way from me, they have 4 trees this year. I don't know what that's about, but they have 4, which I just start laughing because they normally have 1. So it's contagious and it's fun. And then my neighbor across the way, they always get Christmas lights installed outside. And so this year I joined them and I got them installed. So there are 10 homes in our section. Now half of the homes, just in a matter of 3 weeks, have had lights installed. And you guys know those are not like an inexpensive thing to do. You got to call a company and get them out there. But I think what it does is we have built unknowingly a culture within our community. And so now we're outside and we're having conversations about holidays, about Christmas decor, about lights and all these different things. And they're bringing their kids out and their family. And so we're engaging in a completely different kind of way. So it's now building a culture off of shared interest, things that we share in common that we love. And what I do love is we're all different ages, we're all different ethnicities, we're all different industries of career, similar income bracket. But what I noticed is we found commonalities and we found something, a shared passion. And I think when you're building a culture within your organization or within your community, you want to develop shared passions. You want to identify, let me rephrase that, your shared passions, because now when we walk out, we always spoke and we always chit chatted here and there, but now we're having full blown conversations. We're talking about things more in depth than we ever get before. And it's based off the simplest thing. We all start to get Christmas lights. And now the community feels different. And now we see the people, there are 58 homes in our community. It's a gated community. And now we're seeing people all throughout the community that aren't doing like the major installations. Now they're outside adding stuff to their stuff. And now we're seeing people swap stuff out. So it's engaging a whole different conversation and it's building a culture within a community, which I think is very special.
To the next is your evening. Next thing you know, you're on the evening news, and then you get some tea like you're going to have to brand your community, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you value in culture. You start
One
you do the
thing that I think is cute is even with our clients. So we have a stager that works with our company regular. She's been with us for 9 years now. This month she just made 9 years, and so she still is a part of our clients after the closing. So she still assists them. They still hire her independently to come out and do things and with their home, whether it's color selection, design ideas, they still can call and ask us those things. And so we're a part of their family. So I love what Matthew said. It's not about our signs, how big they are or how it's in addition to our service, it's about that connectivity. We have an authentic relationship where we are part of their home. Everything about their home, we're still a part of it after the transaction. So they actually love us more for what we do after than what we do in between. And that's what keeps the referrals coming from those clients. And so one of our clients, she decided she wanted a specialty type of tree. She wanted a designer tree with a certain design on it. And so our stager comes in and she's like, I can make it happen. So she does this tree and then she sends it to me. They send it to me and I'm looking at it. I'm like, I want that. And so I was doing 2 trees instead of the 3 this year. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do one of those. So I do one, but I do mine a little different. Mine's a mannequin tree. And then we send it out. And then other clients decide they want one. Not that same one, but they want their own design based off of what they like. But it's now, so we're having this thing going on and it's building. And so we decide, you know what? We're going to send out something and we're going to have a little show us your tree for Christmas. So we're having that as a little internal thing. So all of our clients, they're going to have the opportunity to send us photos of their trees and we're going to put them all together and send them all out. And so it's called Home for the Holidays. And so that's building a whole nother culture that we hadn't even thought about, but it's authentic, it's personable, it feels good. Remember, we talked about the Apple experience. It feels good and it brings people together and it builds a community within our clients who have never met each other.
Tiffany, I love that, by the way. You used the word contagious, and it made me think about, the broker owner or even agent possibly who's, said, I want to listen to this today based on the name of the webinar. I remember we had an agent one time at our firm that had come from another firm. And so I asked her in the lobby of one of our offices one day, I said, I'm just curious why you came here. And she said, honestly, I think it was FOMO. And I was like, FOMO? And she was like, yeah, like fear of missing out. So I just kept seeing all these like events that you had on your social media or these community involvement projects you were doing. And I just felt like I was missing out. And so it made me think about, if I'm a broker owner and listening to this, how do you use culture? Like, how do you make your culture contagious? I'm curious what you all would say to that.
Well, I'll take a crack at that. I think what we want to recognize is that we communicate culture in everything we do. And so I like the idea of contagious. I use the term magnetic. Same thing. There's an attractive force, right, of culture. And so in everything you do, you communicate your culture. How you market communicates your culture. How you conduct your office meetings communicates your culture. The public statements that you make as an organization tells others what is important to you and what matters. How your agents interact with other agents communicates that culture. And so people want to, you know the old phrase, birds of a feather flock together, right? There's a reason for that in nature. People want to feel like they fit somewhere. Customers want to work with companies that get them and understand them. And in fact, if I could use a second Peter Drucker quote in the same conversation, Drucker used to say, the whole purpose of marketing is to know the customer so well that your product or service just fits them and virtually sells itself. And he meant virtually, meaning with very little effort. Well, that's true of a brokerage. When a brokerage has a particular culture, a certain way of doing things, and it communicates it through how it shows up in the marketplace with customers and with competitor colleagues. Some people say, hey, I want to be part of that too, whether it's FOMO or it's just that's the place that makes sense for me. I'll give you an example here, a very simple example. I work with a number of brokerages worldwide who always chuckle a little bit about all the crazy things people do to attract agents and retain agents. I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff in this business of the lengths to which people are going to try and attract talent and keep talent. And I have some brokers who say to me all the time, say, Matthew, I got people who are knocking at my door. I'm not recruiting them. They're saying, you're a place I want to be part of. And I have other people who are only going to leave feet first. They're not going. It doesn't matter who shows up, how big the checkbook is, how glittery the latest gadgetoids are. They're here because we fit them and we fit together. And that's also true for customers and clients. Every one of us on this call, everyone listening to our conversation has preferred organizations that they will go out of their way to work with because it feels like it fits when you're there, when you're staying at their hotel, eating at their restaurant, working with a certain professional. We see in real estate all the time that 80% or higher clients say they want to work with their same agent again the next time. And in fact, we know they refer them. We have satisfied clients who refer you 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times over a 10-year period in between their own purchase cycles. And that's not only because they enjoyed working with you at the time, but because they get you, they fit with you, and they want others to fit and have that same experience as well. So, there's a way to activate your culture, and that is in your behaviors, in the way in which you sell, in which you market, in which you interact, in which you conduct yourselves. And every little cue that you have, the way you speak, the vocabulary that you use, whether you're on time or late, whether you're proactive or reactive, the degree to which you live up to the values you hold true, they really become the manifestation of your culture. In this business, we talk a lot about brand, but I would really consider it more your reputation. Your reputation is how you communicate your culture. And that is real. That is not something that is an add-on to what it means to be competitive in this business. I have clients whose logos are unrecognizable, who don't have a motto, who aren't, plastered all over the downtown billboards or dominating the social media landscape, and yet they're more than sufficiently busy year after year, decade after decade, because they leverage that cultural asset that they have, build a great reputation, and then they let the magnetic waves of that bring in all the business that they need.
I like that. Kim, what are your thoughts on making that? I mean, everyone knows who Moxie Works is. How do you make your brand contagious?
Make the brand. So that's my job right now. I've been coming in to expand Moxie Works from how it was perceived to everything that we actually want to do and are passionate about and can do. I think a few things, there's a few, we're talking about a lot of fun stuff right now, feelings and values and all, that's not fun, a lot of positive. You sometimes have to deal with the negative. All right, so you have to take a look in your organization and take a look at your, the people, the processes, the systems, and what do you have in place that's not actually upholding because it's a friction point against what you're trying to drive for culture. Not every agent in a brokerage and not every staff member at a tech company may want to be a part of the culture you're building or may understand their place. So that's why I opened with clarity at the top of the call. If you provide clarity on what we're doing and why we're doing it and where we're heading and the bumps we know we're going to have to overcome together as we get there, you'll quickly see who wants to be a part of that journey and who's maybe like, that sounds great for you, but that's not necessarily right for me. And that's okay. So I think in coming in and trying to not just drive the culture, but make sure everyone knows where we're heading and why, which will uphold the culture. We have to take a quick look at your resources, and that's human resources, tools and systems. Do you have partners that align with your values that you have to have? I mean, we're a tech company, but we have partners too. We have vendors too that we buy from. They have to align with our values and support where we're going and be able to help my people have a good experience in their work week so they can go do their jobs. So clean house a little bit, I'd say, is a bit of what you need to do in your culture.
Well, I love where Kim is going with this because when she talks about tools and systems, that's key because of course at the end of the day you're running a business, so people need what they need to be able to be successful. So and it just makes life easier, and so the easier it is on the agents, then the easier it is on the back end for the brokerage. So Kim, I definitely think what Moxie does with the tools and systems is huge because it streamlines and makes everything easy. And then I love what you also said, Kim, about we also have to talk about the other side of it because it's not all roses and all of those great things. There are two types of people when you're building a culture that you have to be very careful of and with then bringing within your organization. And the first one are people that want too much. And then the second one are people that don't want enough.
Mm.
And that's huge. And I'll tell you why. I'll define both. The people that want too much, they never get enough. So one of my uncle told me about 6 years ago. He says, "Niece, I like to tell you." He said, "It's two type of people. It's a couple different types of people in the world, but there are two in particular." He said, "They're givers and takers. So givers never don't know when to stop giving, and takers don't know when to stop taking. They never stop taking." So people that want too much, they're never going to stop taking from you. They're never going to stop wanting more and more and more and more, sucking the life out of the resources of a company, whether it's time, whether it's energy, whether it's what have you. They they want it's self motivated, so it's more of what's in it for me. What can I get right now? Give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, and you'll burn out giving too much, whether it's time, whether it's energy. It's not just about money or finances to certain groups of people where you start to neglect other people within the organization. So the people that never get enough, that is cancerous to an organization. The people that don't want enough, that means all the things that you've built within your culture, within the organization, within the company, it doesn't matter to them because they don't want enough out of their business or out of life where it's not going to be of value to them. So finding the right people that where your culture has value, that's the big thing because people that don't never get enough, it's never going to be enough for them. And for the people that don't want enough, they're never going to use it. So you want to align with the right people.
And if I just could piggyback on what Tiffany is saying, because she uses two really good examples of misalignment. I think that's really a critical factor when it comes to nurturing a culture, but also when it comes to protecting and then being able to leverage that culture is misalignment. There's really nothing more destructive for an organization than, you know, an individual who doesn't align with that culture, not only will it cause disruption internally because they will go about doing things in a way that doesn't resonate with not only the other people, but the systems and tools that you've designed. But you also have the challenge with who that might cause to leave, as well as who that might prevent from coming to your organization. So an internal mismatch is really deadly to your talent, if you will, because some people will opt out. They'll say, listen, I always think about it like this. You get the kind of culture based upon the behaviors that you tolerate. So if you tolerate misaligned behavior, some people will say, well, why do I want to be here? We profess to have integrity, yet so-and-so is doing deals that lack integrity. We profess to be customer service first. So-and-so practices in a way that really doesn't show greatest care for the customer. This isn't the place for me. So people will leave. Plus, everyone else is watching. All the other people you're hoping to attract to your organization will say, maybe that's not the place I want to be. And if you think that's a problem within the talent pool, that's also a problem in the customer space as well. Because customers also say, I don't know if that's the place that's going to deliver the best service for me. I don't know if I'm going to get the most for my loyalty and relationship there. I don't know if that's the place that is going to look out for my best interests in alignment with their best interests. So this works across, multiple levels. And then just because we're such a networked industry, this also works with our colleagues. When you think about it, your culture stakes out a corner of your local marketplace, and people will have a sense of what it means to interact with you. That may impact referrals that are passed to you. That may in fact offers to collaborate on projects, developments, town events. It may even impact, for example, your ability to be acquired at some point, if that's what you want. If you're building a company to be acquired, some people might say, wow, they do a lot of revenue, but I don't know if I want to integrate that culture into my culture. I mean, I've done a million M&As in my career, and the interesting thing is most of the ones that succeed do not succeed because of the financial, operational, technical synergies. They succeed because the cultures were a match, and the reverse is true as well. If you try to merge two organizations that are opposite ends of the coin, they believe different things about the marketplace, they have different values about how things should be done, they are never going to last. I don't care what it looks like in the beginning, they burn out. And so as you can see, like culture, again, it's integrated into every aspect of how we win in this business. It's integrated into the sales, into the talent, into the operations, into the management style, and ultimately into our marketplace position.
Yeah. I mean, I really think the biggest point is we talked here about building a culture, redefining your culture, how things can happen organically without you knowing. You have to wake up every day thinking, how am I protecting my culture as well? And protecting your culture as a leader, to Matthew's point, everyone's watching. So if you're tolerating behavior that is against what your culture is, or if you yourself are not upholding cultural elements, people are watching and they won't believe. And they'll back away. And in recruiting and retaining, whether you're building a brokerage, whether you're building a real estate team, whether you're someone like myself that's building an A-player team in sales and marketing for a tech company, I have to protect against the culture every day to be responsible to the people that have bought in and the people that are on this journey with me and are the players that are going to help drive the business and give and deliver on our cultural values and treat our customers well and treat our prospects well. It's my job to protect that. It's not their job to be in it alone. You can't say, everyone on my team, you need to go abide by our cultural values. I have to guide them to it and make sure that I'm protecting the brand and hold us accountable to it. That's my job as a leader.
Yeah, and I would just, as you were speaking, Kim, you reminded me of a wonderful phrase from a broker, Massachusetts broker, woman who I deeply respect. She's just done some amazing things with her organization. But she said to me once, we had her on a panel conversation, we were talking about culture, and she said, listen, here's one thing I've learned over the years. And she said, the fish thinks from the head. And what she reminds us is that, we as leaders of our organization, again, whether I'm leading a company like Tiffany is, whether I'm leading a department like Kim is, whether I'm leading my own little personal business as a real estate salesperson, the culture starts with how I show up. Do I want my agents to prospect? Am I out there building relationships? Do I want my agents to use technology? Am I using technology? Do I want people to treat clients and colleagues fairly in the business? Am I treating everyone fairly with my compensation strategy and my office space allocation strategy, whatever those things are? Like every single element of your culture is embodied in the leader. And so when I think about people say, well, how do I activate culture? You show up and you do you. And the way in which you do you is the manifestation. It's the expression of those things that matter to you or not. And it's actually the hardest work of a leader. We think about a lot of the things that leaders need to do today, but if I were to think back on the last 24 months in this business, I would say that one of the greatest challenges in the real estate industry today is not artificial intelligence. I mean, Kim's harnessed artificial intelligence and put it in a product and made it serve us in the same way that great brokerages are doing this all the time. It's not external market forces, regulators, lawsuits. I would say that our industry is suffering from a crisis of culture. We are suffering from a crisis of understanding who are we? What do we stand for? What matters to us? What are we squabbling over all the time? Why are we constantly trying to nip at each other's heels rather than collectively identify ways in which to raise the level of performance and satisfaction for customers and clients? These are industry level cultural challenges, but each one, again, the fish stinks in the head, right? Each one of these comes down to each individual leading their organization, leading their one office or their multi-office or their multi-state office. That all adds up. And so when you think about how powerful this is, in our business, we often say like, well, we really wish that we could grow this business. Well, one of the greatest ways to grow this business is to align all of your other actions with the set of values that will resonate with the public. Everything, I'm just going to use Kim as the example here today. Everything MoxieWorks does for real estate professionals would be meaningless if the agent's culture couldn't be reflected, if the company's culture couldn't be reflected in the messaging, in the tools, in the communication style. The very fact that MoxieWorks is founded on the philosophy of relationship-centric business, right? That very central philosophy is what the technology is built around matters, because if you don't believe in relationships, if you're just out there trying to burn through as many leads as you can generate working on TikTok, well, then it's not the product for you. You won't be happy with it, and it'll be hard for MoxieWorks to be of value to you. So you can see everything that you do really comes back to, what do you stand for? What matters to you? And once you get some clarity on that, some alignment with that, the rest becomes real easy. Finding the right partners, finding the right tools, finding the right behaviors actually becomes easy every single day.
You mentioned,
Go ahead, Justin.
yeah, I do have a question for you. You mentioned a crisis of culture. I don't know that I realized that from an external perspective as much until recently. Um, I got so we're the number one firm in our market. I got the number two, number three CEO. We all did a video that was explaining what a touring agreement was, because we all were running into agents from other firms who weren't using them. And naturally, you'd come up against someone that would say, well, my last agent didn't make me use one. So we all did a public facing video where we all three say, hey, we're split up, we're together on this. This has to be done. It's the new rule. And so we put it out. And my neighbor said to me, hey, I saw that video you did with your competitors. That was so cool. I just thought all of you guys hated each other. And I was like, why did you think that? I mean, I've certainly never said that, because like, I think it's just anytime I look at the headlines, not so much locally, but nationally, it's one company saying something bad about another company, or one company suing another company. And it just was an awareness to me of, from more of a national perspective, probably we do have a crisis in culture. People don't realize, like, ultimately we're all kind of in this thing together to represent our fiduciary, interests in our clients. And anyway, it was an awareness that I didn't have.
Well, and Justin, the flip side is this. Organizations that have clarity in their culture, organizations that understand what they're doing, why they do it, they're actually succeeding really well. The way in which your three brokerages were able to get together and do some good for each other as well as for the consumer is an example of when you have alignment in your local marketplace around what is it that we're really doing here every day. I work with organizations, associations, MLSs, brokerages who have been wildly successful in the last 24 months, not because they're in unique markets or have special conditions or a secret weapon, but simply because they found a way to stand for who they were, create resonance with the rest of the opportunities that were in the marketplace with customers and with other agents, and then to work towards fulfilling what mattered to them, not work towards trying to, degrade the competition or corner the market or something like that. So when you think about your culture, that culture can drive your strategy. Some people are sitting there today worried about how to overcome the competitor. And other people are saying, I wish the competitor their own good luck. But in my case, my culture is going to have me implement my own strategy in a way that will resonate with the clients and the agents and the partners and the associations that matter to me. So, you can bring this to a very large level at an industrial level, but you can also just bring it right back down to the individual agent in individual office, where that culture becomes an easily referenced a guide to how to succeed in this business.
Yeah.
What I was just thinking out loud, Justin, what basically what that just did was a twofold thing for the culture of all three companies. All three of you just elevated built a culture within cultures, within your local real estate community, because it's going to say a few things. One, to your agents that work for all three companies, it's going to say collaboration. It's going to say they're going to feel good about working with agents on the other side of those deals, on the other side of that table from those companies, because they're going to feel like you have a shared mutual respect, a shared interest, a shared level of trust. And also to the consumers in your market, to the everyday consumers, when they see that, it like your neighbor said, it told them something different. It told them that actually, to me, it's this trust. Like, you are competitors, but you trust one another. You respect one another enough to say, hey, listen, this is what's happened in the real estate community, and we're going to come together, and this is how we're going to better serve you and support you. And this is why we're asking of what we're asking. But that just sent a different wave throughout your community, not just within the local community, but also within brokerage as well, because now I can assure you, you're going to have agents contacting all three companies now from different companies, interested to seeing who you are, to learn more about you, because that says something completely different.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, you saw your point, right? Like the agents, if I heard it correctly, the agents had a pain point and friction point that with their consumer. Well, the last agent told me no, or the other agent told me this. So
Right.
you're creating clarity in the market, Justin.
Thank you. And it's funny because the intention was we just want consumers to understand this is a real thing. We do have to do it. We didn't just make it up. Kim mentioned the word protecting culture. Tiffany, could you, I mean, you're our boots on the ground person. So is there an example of how you've had to make a decision to protect your culture, or maybe just a couple of things that you do to keep a finger on the pulse of how you protect the culture you built?
I think a couple things. Patience and maintaining. Those are two words that help you to protect your culture. The first one, with patience, is in making sure you don't race to the bottom. Let's just be clear: the barrier to get into real estate is not very high. We know that. What I've seen personally and had friends to do is take and recruit any and single lifeline. If you had a pulse, you could come in. So I think having the patience to properly build your company is important, so that you're able to maintain it, because the wrong people will drive it down pretty quickly, and the wrong people will drive it out of business pretty quickly. Like in our market in 2019, one of the things that I learned most, or that I feared most, and that I've always kept in mind, is that we had 3 companies that were doing over $1 billion in sales, and they went out of business. And they weren't companies that just formed overnight. There were companies in business 30, 40 years. And so you have to ask yourself, how does that happen? And that's when you got more going out than you got coming in. So even though you're putting up these numbers and you have all these people, how are you getting there? So ensuring that you don't race to the bottom, and that's allowing people to drive your culture because of their productivity, allowing them to run the company based off of who they believe that they are. I think one of the things is hiring people. People always talk about hiring people, but you can't be afraid to let people go. And I think that's the biggest part of maintaining and protecting a culture, is identifying people that don't fit those values of where you're going or where you're headed, or those people that are making other people within the organization feel uncomfortable, making it a chore to come into the office. Like, I want to come in the office, but I know this group of people are going to be there, or this person's going to be there, and I don't like the energy that I feel around that person, or way I feel. So having the wrong people within your, and Matthew talked about it, alignment. Having people that are not aligned with the organization remain in the organization because they're productive is a huge misstep. You have to bite the bullet, and you have to do what's necessary and find the right place for them to go, because it's not within that organization. Because if you keep the wrong people for too long, it's going to become a cancer. And Matthew's shaking his head because he understands it. It becomes a cancer, and it's going to eat from within. And once it does that, you'll lose people that you needed to keep, and then you're left with the pieces that are eventually going to go, or eventually are going to have to go, one way or the other. So having the courage and having the patience to identify what you have within your organization, and having the wherewithal and the courage to go ahead and separate from those people is a big thing. The way that you do it is just as important, because no one wants to hear that this is not a place for you, right? So we've always, whenever we've had to do it, we've always had alternatives for those people. Here are places that we think that you might fit, because it's not that we're just saying that you don't belong here. It's telling you, I think you align better here. And that's a big thing. So protecting your culture is knowing when to let go of people who are not properly aligned with the organization.
Yeah, I would just piggyback onto that. The best managers I know in this business, the best organizational leaders at any scale, realize that real estate is essentially a talent agency. That's really what we do, right? We don't actually buy and sell the product that we're involved in terms of housing. We manage the talent that helps it happen. And sometimes it's just time for the talent to move to their next opportunity. And so if you want to protect your culture, the most ethical thing you can do for someone who's struggling within that culture is to help them find their next opportunity, right? Sometimes you have to speed that up. Maybe you have to take them to lunch and order their lunch to go. And other times you can help them realize that it's time for them to self-opt out in that case. Tangentially to that, though, it's the most ethical thing that you can do for the people who stay. And I don't mean just the other agents and the staff who will be behind, but the customers and clients who are showing up every day as well. So when you think about culture, we talk about core values. People say, well, I like to act with honesty and integrity, authenticity, and be highly ethical. Well, to protect your culture is one of the most ethical things you can do on a daily basis. And while I totally agree with Tiffany, grow it slow with the right people, and if necessary, ask some people to find their success somewhere else. I would just add one third element, which is you must constantly tell the story of the organization you envision. So when we build an organization, we start by identifying its core values, its mission, and its vision, who it wants to grow up and become. And I do this with individual agents too. Who do you want to become? Do you want to become an agent who has a certain type of work-life balance, productivity, client profile, et cetera? So every organization, every individual has a vision of who they wish to grow into, right? So who you are, your values, who you wish to become is very important as well. And this is one of those areas where culture is embodied in the expression of who you wish to become. That's where storytelling is critical. That's where opening your office meetings by giving an example of someone who lived up to a core value this week and doing trainings that emphasize behaviors that represent the finest expression of your culture. Awards. Think about every year we're getting ready, in the first quarter, we have a lot of awards banquets, a lot of award ceremonies in this business. Yes, we should reward and award production, productivity, but what else are we rewarding? I work with this amazing organization in California, just outside of Oakland and in San Francisco as well, and they actually have 36 awards, and only 2 or 3 around production. They're awarding people for their teamwork, for going above and beyond, for being a beacon of optimism, for showing up in the community. I mean, you name it. It is amazing. And everyone is cheering just as much for those awards as the top units, top sales dollar, et cetera. So all of that is part of the culture of who they are and what you tolerate as well as what you incentivize. And you can incentivize through just your storytelling. People want to live up to that story. We want to live into the vision of who you are helping them become. I've always said in this business, it's true for clients, and it's true for us as practitioners. It's not about what we get that matters. It's what it makes of us that really defines our work. No customer and client gets up this morning and says, I can't wait to buy a house so I can finally have 2 sinks in the bathroom. That's not why they're buying that house. They are buying that house so they can become and express the person who reached their success or has moved into a neighborhood that's important to them or has a kind of lifestyle that they desire. Well, that's true internally as well. A lot of agents are not showing up to work for how many units they can do. They're showing up for the whole package of who they can become. And if you can talk to talent, you can talk to people and say, yes, you're going to make a great living, but you're also going to build a great life at this organization. Your culture is basically your most powerful tool at that moment.
Wow. Listen, I could talk with you all for a long time about this topic, and I've really enjoyed Tiffany and Matthew and Kim, all the little nuggets you had to say. I've probably got more notes written down just for myself of things that I need to do different or think about differently. So I appreciate it.
I would say the
Kim,
same. I have some things I'm taking back, I think, into the work week in terms of what I could do, how I could maybe lead the team better, or even just encourage our team to think about how we're communicating with the market as well. So
yeah,
very helpful. Thank you, everyone.
yeah. Thank you, guys. Kim, can you help us land the plane here? Tell us about MoxieWorks, what you guys have going on, and
Yeah.
uh,
So MoxieWorks is at the top. We're here to help you nurture your database. Everyone, we sell CRM, we sell email marketing. You can buy that anywhere. What's different about ours is really our culture to innovate, to make things work better for the agent. Brokerages, broker owners in particular, have a lot on your plate, a lot to manage, and we want to help you make your agents more productive and do it in a way that aligns with your values. So I heard today, we talked about what happens after the sale. So I can sell you all the features of whatever Rise will do, but really we're trying to help you make sure that your agents have sustainable, predictable pipeline beyond just sending an email out to say Happy Thanksgiving or whatever holiday they're celebrating. Within agents, we talked about 80% plan to work with the brokerage with the same agent again, but less than 30% often do because of poor follow-up in the industry. And so why are agents not following up? Well, we can tell them what they need to do, but they've got a lot on their plates as well, a lot they're managing. So with MoxieWorks, you have a CRM, you have email marketing, you have social marketing, And it's all in one platform. And our new platform, Rise, will surface for the agent what they didn't even know to ask. Help them make sure they're not missing up on follow up, giving them the control to decide. This isn't just AI saying, write me an email. It's saying you should send an email that looks like this because of X, and it should go at this time. Would you like me to build that and deploy it for you? And the agent has control to say yes. So they're still at the center. It's still coming from them, and they have the control to say later. Or you maybe identified this person wrong. I know them personally. I didn't put the input in the CRM, so the CRM didn't know. So that's what we're here to do. Help agents be more productive, make sure they don't miss their follow-ups, align with great tech for the brokerage to help you with recruiting and retaining. And our new platform has an early access offer. We just launched it at NAR in November. And for anyone who wants to take a look at booking a demo and taking a look at if Rise is what's for them in 2026, we have early access pricing. If you scan the QR code, to get you in on the newest version, and then you get the benefit of all of our monthly releases now through the rest of the year.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Next year. There you go.
And I just scanned your QR code and it does work wonderfully. So.
Oh, well, perfect. Well, that's important. I just want to say thank you to everyone here. If your company is looking to take a look at an audit of, do you have the right partners in place? It's really important. And we'd be more than happy to talk to you about how we could help you and help your agents.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kim, and truly thank you for sponsoring. Tiffany, thank you, and Matthew, thank you. I've enjoyed having the conversation.